Adding power makes you faster on the straights. Subtracting weight makes you faster everywhere. The words of Lotus founder Colin Chapman, words which resonated particularly well with a group of Lotus engineers who left the car maker and in 1971 embarked on a new project conceived in the sack room of the Cross and Blackwell baked bean warehouse in Hethel, a project that was designed to take on Lotus at its own game. Such was the vision of the charismatic Paul Hauser and his right-hand man Brian Luff that this group of now ex-Lotus employees was distinguished indeed. It included legendary designer John Frayling and Arthur Birchall, who during his time at Lotus had been a celebrated Formula One mechanic, working with the likes of Graham Hill and Jim Clark before heading out to the States to be Chapman's chief Indy mechanic. The fact that the Clan Motor Company now possess some of the world's most renowned motor racing minds should have given us some indication as to the competitive spirit which was at the heart of this new company. But going wheel to wheel with Lotus on the racetrack was seemingly not in the plan. Hauser and his team were focused on making a success of the road car operation. No mean feat amidst the backdrop of the turbulent early 70s. Motor racing, if a dream, seemed distant. Enter Alan Conley, a rally driver from the northeast of England who'd been enjoying moderate success on legendary rallies such as the Tour of Mull in a Hillman Imp. Alan knew that if he was to go any faster, he needed something lighter. So a composite-bodied rally car with familiar running gear seemed to fit the bill. The Clan men, though, weren't interested. 6 months passed, and in that 6 months, something changed. Conley received a phone call asking if he was still in the market for a lightweight rally car, and that if he was, Clan would commit to building him a special lightweight competition bodyshell. As head of engineering for the Clan Motor Company, had Arthur Birchall heard about this inquiry from the Northeast rally driver and had his competitive instinct reignited? Had Paul Hauser, enjoying early success for the Clan, seen a chance to up the car's game and go after the Lotus laurels after all? It's almost a question I don't want to ask, because knowing Paul, the answer would be very pragmatic. And it's romance and poetry that we want from this story, isn't it? Romance like Alan Conley saying yes and Clan embarking on their first purpose-built lightweight competition Crusader. Poetry like Andy Dawson, who worked at Chrysler's competition department at the time, getting wind of this and asking Clan to do the same for him. Romance like Dawson's Clan coming second on the Manx rally behind Roger Clark's Escort. And romance like Alan Conley winning the 1972 Tour of Mull. 1972 changed everything for the Clan Motor Company. Nobody could have foreseen how short-lived the fairy tale would be, but crucially, nobody in their wildest imagination could have imagined how long the legacy from these early motorsport successes would last. On the 14th of December 1972, the news broke. Successful Formula 2 racing driver Johnny Blaze would make a return to sports car racing aboard an all-new lightweight Clan Crusader. By the time the motoring press had closed for a sherry and a mince pie late in '72, news was already rife that this new Clan would feature a lightweight roll cage made of innovative fibreglass rope. The car would be homologated to Group 4 regs and would run in mod sports, a category of racing popular with the fans for fire-breathing, wide-arched, modified production sports cars, and equally fiery on-track theatre. In January 1973, the official announcement came. Motorsport magazine running an article setting out Clan's rally ambitions with Alan Conley and Andy Dawson, and then Whitley Bay's Johnny Blades in the Modsports Clan Crusader on the racetrack. Behind the headlines though, politics were brewing. A scandal over the homologation build numbers of the production race car version of the Clan Crusader threatened to undermine the entire race program. It was suggested at the time that Ginetta, which had dominated the up to 1150cc mod sports class in 1972, worried that Clan would come in and push their similarly imp-engined G15 to the sidelines, had looked a little closer at the detail. Irrespective, it was found that Clan had massaged the build numbers. It was getting serious now. There was just no distinction to be made between the spirit and the letter of the rules, not when there was this much at stake. Whether or not Ginetta had a hand in whistleblowing on their new rivals remains the subject of period speculation and ultimately history. Either way, the mod sports Clan Crusader avoided the same fate as its Racing Green Productions stablemate. And if anything, this episode had given Clan and Blades more resolve than ever to go after Ginetta and the other cars in class. What nobody could have predicted though at this point was how much bigger the prey the Clan had in its sights would be. Mod sports cars are the sort of racing cars that got little boys like me hooked on motor racing. Production sports cars with tasty modifications, MG midgets to E-Type Jaguars, Marcuses to TVRs, big bonnet bulges, wide arches, louvres, spoilers, fat, slick tyres. This is the place that every self-respecting British sports car manufacturer brought their gladiators from the showroom to do battle. And the prize? The hearts and minds of British motor racing fans. And money. Big prize money. You see, motor racing in the early 70s was big business. The spectator banks were packed out. It drew a crowd that most club meetings today could only dream of. The Northern Sports Cars Mod Sports Championship visited exciting spectator tracks such as Ingliston, Croft and Cadwell Park. GT cars shared paddocks with F1 and F2 cars. Club sports single-seaters went wheel to wheel with special saloons. There were three main works teams in the up to 1150cc mod sports class: Davrian, Ginetta and now Clan. In 1972, Ginetta had been utterly dominant in class, but in 73, from early on, it was obvious they would not have it all their own way yet again. In fact, Blades would describe his biggest class adversary as the Davrian, matching the Clan for power and weight, but with one crucial advantage: aerodynamics. Well, there are not many cars you can sit in a Clan Crusader and look down on. Despite being so evenly matched in class with these similarly imp-engined sports cars though, it would be almost gladiatorial on-track sparring matches with much more powerful machinery that would come to define Blades' championship-winning season in 73 with the Heron Furniture-sponsored Clan Crusader. Forget all notions of engine size and class denominations. On-track position mattered. That's where the glory was. And the lightweight elans were the cars to beat in mod sports. The stage was finally set for Clan VS Lotus on the racetrack. Away from the racetrack, Johnny Blades was a successful businessman. A tailor from Whitley Bay, he was flamboyant, dynamic, slick suits, long hair, Ferrari Dino road car that he'd turn up to race meetings in. He was every bit the racing driver. He looked the part, and in the 1970s that was important. With the visor down though, he was as businesslike and as busy on the track. Often at race meetings he'd win in the Clan before jumping into the Lotus 69 F2 car, racing back to back and jumping in the car as it was being wheeled to the grid. In a 15-year career up until this point, an enviable one at that, his many tin-top crusades included a Ford GT40 works campaign. The Clan Crusader was in good company. RC001 was the serial number of the Blades Clan, a works entry for the 1973 mod sports season. The deal was Clan would build and repair the body shell, and Johnny Blades mechanic John Byrne would develop the car, adding a highly modified 998cc Hillman imp engine and a jackknight F3 gearbox. Motoring News tested the car at the time and reported it sounding like a Formula 3 car. This was a 105 brake horsepower screamer that weighed about as much as a marathon chocolate bar did in the 70s. The roll cage alone weighing just 5 pounds. The body shell itself was made of a special lightweight composite, which before it was painted, was actually see-through. One Clan engineer told me that on one factory visit at the time, Johnny Blades was sat in the car and exclaimed that he could see the size of the spanner that the mechanic was holding through the floor. John Byrne knew though that no matter how fast and light the Clan Crusader was, it would have to make the most of its power to weight ratio in the corners, because that is where the advantage was to be had at tracks like Cadwell. The bigger cars would have the legs on the straights and the climbs, and the smaller cars would have to make up what they had when they could. Byrne had been studying Blades' Lotus 69, where the arrangement of the suspension wishbones meant that the wheel moved vertically up and down, and the contact area of the tyre with the surface of the track could be controlled using the camber. If he could achieve a similar setup with the Clan, the results would be devastating. And they were. During cornering, the surface area of the tyre would be in complete contact with the racetrack, offering maximum grip. On the straights, the car would almost lift its tyres up, reducing contact area and increasing speed. And if you look at photos of the car during a race on the power, the front camber is so positive it almost looks unruly. And with a tightly ramped limited slip differential, reports at the time suggested that in fact it was. But it was highly effective. This was a championship winning package. It required a championship winning driver. On the 29th of March 1973 at Thruxton, Johnny Blades made his highly anticipated motorsports debut in the works Clan Crusader. Controversy from the homologation scandal still rumbling, and the car showed its pace from the off, catching some of his fellow drivers resting on their 1972 laurels when he beat them all into the first corner, perhaps. It didn't last long though. Oil pressure problems soon into the race meant that the car was on the sidelines before the race had really got started. So it was back to the drawing board and back to the workshop in Whitley Bay for Johnny Blades and John Byrne. Byrne had been working on a special engine, which he now fitted in the back of this Clan Crusader. There's no better excuse. The car was now faster than ever. And you know those race fans, the ones that ring every race and write every result in the race program, those ones. You see, they noticed something on the back of the Clan Crusader which had arrived in time for the next race. It was an extra scoop feeding a second oil cooler in the back of the Clan. There was only one thing that Johnny Blades would be cooking at the next race, and it wouldn't be his engine oil. Ingliston was up next, and Johnny Blades was about to show that he was not only fast, but also calculating and patient. A first corner incident took out the leading Elan and Ginetta, and the rest of the race played out the same incident strewn. So with the leading cars out of the race, Johnny could have gone for glory, taken the gloves off, and gone for outright positions. He didn't. He took third and he bagged important championship points, proving the Clan's reliability with its new engine. The next few races would prove the early failure of the Clan to have been a freak event. The car was now more reliable than ever, but more than that, Johnny was into such a rhythm with the Crusader that he was becoming increasingly unbeatable in class. Blades brought the Clan home first in class back to back in the next 3 races. But perhaps more impressive than that, second, third and fourth place overall, tussling with the likes of the E-Types, the TVRs and the until now unbeatable Lotus Elans. Ginetta's dominance of the up to 1150cc mod sports class of the previous year that had raked in such high praise was now but a distant memory. All eyes were on the Clan Crusader. Johnny and the Clan were particularly untouchable in the wet. Remember John Byrne's innovative suspension design based on a Lotus 69? Well, the competitors behind, which included the whole mod sports field, got a very good look at how it helped the clan put the power down on a wet racetrack, when Blades beat everybody into the first corner at a treacherously wet Silverstone. Johnny Blades was now on a summer crusade. He took a dominant victory in the clan along with the lap record at the Easter Monday race meeting at Croft before jumping into his warmed up 69 as it went to the grid, taking victory and also the lap record in the F2 race as well. The Clan Crusader was now making waves on a Sunday before regularly hitting the headlines on a Monday. This exciting little racing car had lit up the world of mod sports racing. All this from a car which until 2 years ago had been but a twinkle in Paul Husser's eye. Any concerns over eligibility for the mod sports clan had given way to fears over the car's dominance. And this would not have gone unnoticed at Lotus. Class positions and points may win titles, but on-track battles win hearts and minds. And when the fans turned up in June 1973 to the Northern Mod Sports race here at Cadwell Park, they were treated to some true motor racing theatre. Richard Genvy's 1300 Midget had stormed out into an early distant lead, but all eyes were on the battle for second place, where Johnny Blades in the clan was taking the fight to John Evans in the Lotus Elan. Both cars trading places and paint throughout the race in a motor racing equivalent of cat and mouse. The barking twin cam of the Elan giving it the legs on the long straights and the climbs, but the clan making it up in the twistier sections. And it's those twisty sections here that count. It's what made 60s touring cars so dramatic. The big Galaxies and Falcons having the legs in the long sections, and the Cortinas and the Minis making it up in the woodland section out to the checkered flag here on the start-finish straight. And the bits that count here, the corners that really matter in those battles, are those ones over there. Over the mountain, into a twisty downhill section through Hall Bends, round a tight hairpin, and then it's into barn. It's flat out, it's off camber, gears crunching, tail waggling, and it's a dash to the checkered flag. With one lap to go, all eyes were on the Clan Lotus battle. Blades slotted the Crusader at the inside of the Elan, keeping the powerful Lotus at bay and somehow making those black wide arches even wider. Evans bided his time though, the two cars bumper to bumper over the famous Cadwell Park mountain. Evans and Blades fired their race cars into the tree-lined woodland section of the track, the clan still just in front, on course for a second place, which surely would have felt like a victory inside that translucent shell. But on the last corner of the race, Evans managed to get his power down slightly better than Blades and positioned the Elan for a slingshot towards the finish line. The two cars hurtled out of the trees, into the sunlight and down towards the amphitheatre of Cadwell Park in front of the crowds. Coventry climax, Lotus twin cams screaming out the revs, simultaneous banging of gears towards the checkered flag. But by the line, Evans had managed to claw the Elan just ahead, dramatically cutting across the front of the clan. The two cars making contact on the finish line and coming home 0.2 of a second apart. Another lap record after a dramatic race for Johnny Blades, a 1 minute 44 at Cadwell Park in a 998cc car. This had been an all-out hunt for title glory. Two gladiators dueling to the line. Every tenth of a second, every gear change, every snatch of the brakes, twitch of the rear tyres, a frantic dance. If second place had felt like a victory for Evans in the Elan, then third must have felt like a stinging defeat for the clan driver, but with one consolation. Leaving the Lincolnshire Wolds, the momentum and a leading points position favoured the tailor from Whitley Bay. It's now the end of August. Blades lines up on pole position at Croft for the Battle of Britain race. He's taken 12 class victories, 3 outright wins, and sewn up lap records at Thruxton, Ingliston, Cadwell and Croft to this point. And he has a healthy lead in the Northern Mod Sports Championship as well, which was a good job because the clan would drop a valve, another but rare mechanical failure early in the race, limping to a stop. It was later implied that this was the result of an overzealous, over-revving test session with a journalist leading up to the race weekend. After slogging it out at racetracks across the country, taking part in various mod sports series, the Clan Lotus battle for glory went down to the wire in the Northern Mod Sports Championship. The clan ahead by 13 points as the home heroes returned to Croft for the finale. What a thrilling season it had been so far, and the final round was about to get even more dramatic. A bumper mod sports grid had been combined with the blistering club sports single-seaters, the mod sport starting 10 seconds further back in a staggered start. But there was disaster at the start of the race, the Blades clan striking a marshal who'd been attending a stricken club sports car on the grid. The marshal thankfully avoided serious injury, but the damage to the clan was extensive. And Blades, who could have done nothing to avoid the incident, was understandably shaken. He was given a lap to check the crumpled clan was okay to race. Just imagine that. One lap of Croft to get your emotions and the car in check before taking your place on the grid for the restart and going out to race for the title. Blades took victory, and with it the championship. The Clan Crusader had another giant killing performance to its name. But back at the factory, it was becoming increasingly obvious that this would be its last. RC001 would return to action later in the hands of Scottish racer Kenny Allen before being campaigned even further north by larger-than-life character Stan Scher, who would affectionately from this moment on be known as Stan the Clan. But the Clan Crusader had made its headlines. The works car had had its moment in the spotlight. Back in the paddock, Johnny Blades was loading the works Clan Crusader back onto the trailer for the very last time, battle-scarred but victorious, and reflecting on his most successful season in motorsport to date. After 15 years in the sport, he'd finally made a profit from racing. 1973 had seen Blades take titles in both his mod sports and F2 cars, but the extraordinary effort of running two title-winning race programs simultaneously on top of running a business had just become too much, and with a young family to consider, Blades unceremoniously retired from the sport in that moment. Back at the factory, the Clan Motor Company had also come to the end of the road. Industrial action at the Roots Group affecting the supply chain and combining with other economic factors which were not conducive to running a low-volume sports car manufacturer in the early 70s. But Johnny Blades and the Clan Crusader would both bow out in a blaze of glory. One season, with just one shot, Clan had beaten Lotus.